Hey everyone, it's me, Joe T, again here to talk about all things Sonic the Hedgehog. So recently it was brought to my attention that my videos have been focused on only classic Sonic with no real discussion about 3D Sonic. And I guess there's a few reasons for this which I'm going to get into before diving into the painfully divisive topic that is the subject of this video. Most of you playing along at home already know that Sonic Mania was released last year to critical and fan acclaim, having been rated as the best Sonic game in 15 years. Then it was re-released this year with the Encore Mode DLC, and the physical release. Wait. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I thought this wasn't going to be another 2D Sonic video. Well, it isn't. My point is that the focus of my videos is on the most recent Sonic game that I've really enjoyed. But let's move on. Personally speaking, part of the reason I don't cover 3D Sonic games is because I haven't played a lot of them in recent history. In fact, since 2008, the only 3D Sonic games I've played are Unleashed, Generations, and unfortunately Forces. That's only 3 games over a 10-year span. If you're keeping score, by the way, you'll know that I did cover Forces in one video, but mainly just to trash it. Why only 3 games, you ask? 3 words: quantity over quality. Even Sega came out and admitted that they lost their way with some of the recent games that were released as part of their Nintendo exclusive deal, and that their intent was solely to make games as fast as possible while making as much money as possible. Sonic Forces being an anniversary game was meant to put an end to that cycle. But then again, we all know how that one turned out. You see, the problem with 3D Sonic games is actually nothing. I can almost hear the screams and cries of the 2D Sonic purists now. Sonic has never been good in 3D and never will be. Whatever. Hear me out on this. Let's take it back to the decade leading up to Sonic Unleashed. Well, there were certainly a lot of 3D games that came out from 1998 to 2008. This was the birth and the age of 3D Sonic. During this time frame, the only 2D Sonic games you would see were ports or handheld games. Here's a massively unpopular opinion for you. During this time, I not only played, but loved every single game. Oh yes, that includes Shadow the Hedgehog. And yes, that includes Sonic 06. Now, not all games were created equal or without their flaws, but they all had something unique, special, and original to offer. Then what happened? In order to understand that, we need to first understand what makes a Sonic game great, regardless of if it's 2D, isometric, 2.5D, or 3D. I think we can all agree that we have fond memories of the first Sonic game we ever played. And with good reason. Maybe it was the catchy tunes, be it from Michael Jackson and his composers, or the beloved Crush 40. Or perhaps you think back to the focus on exploration, various game modes, and unique abilities that the characters had. Was it zipping through a level in a race against time that captured you the most? What about all of those side quests you could do that made you want to play the game over and over again until you completed 100% of everything? For Sonic, these 4 categories, music, level design, speed, and replayability, are the keys to making an amazing game. With Sonic Adventure introducing us to Sonic in 3D, Sega had an interesting challenge to overcome. How do we take a 2D sprite and give him a 3D makeover? How can we maintain his speed in a 3D environment without constantly veering him off course? What about the traditional platforming style? How can we continue this in 3D? Being that Sonic Adventure is the best-selling game for the short-lived Dreamcast, there is a near-unanimous agreement that Sega and Sonic team successfully executed their plans. Despite the camera viewing angle annoyances, game glitches, and wonky speech timing, gamers around the world rejoiced for the long-anticipated return of the fastest thing alive. New gamers loved the advanced graphics and technological design, while the die-hard classic fans enjoyed the basics of running and collecting rings. The gameplay kept true to Sonic's fast-paced environment, maintaining tricky platforming and the level design while also introducing a new adventure style of play. The game also doubled the previous number of playable characters from Sonic 3 and Knuckles from 3 to 6. With the addition of Chao, stemming from the ultra-popular Tamagotchi digital pets of the late 90s, this greatly enhanced the replayability of the game as well. And although music is very subjective, it's clear that the new generation of music was pretty badass as well. Sonic Team built on this success, with its follow-up to the main franchise, Sonic Adventure 2. Though it was released as a 10-year anniversary game in 2001, it relied little on nostalgia from old games except for the bonus of including a redesigned 3D Green Hill Zone that you can unlock only after collecting all 180 emblems, which for anyone who's played the game knows is actually pretty tough. Today they would literally have to pay me to play another redesign of Green Hill. This game introduced 2 storylines that eventually converge, Hero and Dark, as well as 2 new characters, Rouge the Bat and Shadow the Hedgehog, but kept the amount of playable characters at 6, removing Amy, Gamma, and Big, thank God. Eggman was also a playable character in this game as part of the Dark storyline, which was really a great touch. The game expanded on the character's unique abilities, creating parity between the storylines with Sonic and Shadow, Tails and Eggman, and Knuckles and Rouge. Each of their gameplay styles tied in quite well with their abilities, most of which allowed for some slower pace exploration, aside from the Hedgehog's fast-paced blitz through the level. And again, the lovely Chao were included to be raised as pets, loved and cherished, or thrown against a wall in frustration depending on how evil you were. Following up was Sonic Heroes, which did not bear the adventure name but kept a lot of the same level design, music style, character, and graphical elements. This game was very unique because you would play on one of 4 teams while rotating between characters collaboratively to advance through the levels. After these 3 titles, Sonic got a little bit of a breather, aside from a brief appearance as a non-playable character in the much-loathed Shadow the Hedgehog. In 2006, on the 15th anniversary of Sonic, we received the blessing that was Sonic 06. A blessing that would soon become a curse, and one that was riddled with graphical and technical issues as well as flat-out broken gameplay due to its rushed development to meet the tight deadlines for the anniversary. This chapter marked the beginning of the downward spiral for 3D Sonic, and since then has arguably only been lifted by the mediocre at best titles such as Unleashed, Colors, and Generations. Across Sonic's nearly 30-year run, there have been a ton of experiments to try new and different things in the game. Some good, some bad, and some ugly. This is important because a lot of people would cite the experimentation as the reason for Sonic's long downward spiral. Just to recap on some of the more controversial features, need I remind you of Big the Cat's fishing levels in Sonic Adventure 1, though this is a massive running joke even today, so at least we came away with something. Knuckles and Rouge's treasure hunting levels in Sonic Adventure 2. Shadow's use of edgy language and weapons in Shadow the Hedgehog. The totally weird interspecies love story between Sonic and Princess Elise in Sonic 06. Though to be fair, this is Lacey Shea Beer we're talking about, and that's like every nerd's dream. And I'm not even touching the other bugs or playability issues that plague this game. The Werehog and his slow-moving Crash of the Titans-like brawling levels in Sonic Unleashed. The Wisps in Sonic Colors. And whatever the f*** was going on here in Sonic Lost World. But experimentation isn't the issue, because without testing new boundaries, how would Sonic games ever grow or progress? And for every experiment that's been tried, you can find plenty of people out there just like myself, who didn't mind or even enjoyed those features. So to that point, I offer you this theory. Maybe it's the lack of experimentation that is killing the 3D games. Maybe it's the play it safe approach that Sega is taking, which started with Unleashed, was catapulted by Generations, and is annoyingly prevalent in games like Forces. What if the problem with 3D Sonic was 2D Sonic? Isn't the fact that Sega can't let go of the past the real issue here? I mean, let's face it. How many times can we stomach the recreation of Green Hill Zone and the f***ing dun 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 dun? I just can't do it anymore. It haunts me in my sleep. And if the social media folks over at Sega HQ know enough to poke fun at this, then obviously it's a well-known problem. Having 2D side-scrolling in the 3D games was cool once. I repeat, that was cool once. Maybe even twice with what Generations did to have some full 2D levels, and then some hybrid levels. They brought that nostalgic flair that we all yearn for. But transforming 3D games with over 67% of the game being side-scrolling 2D like what Forces did is insulting. Enough is enough. With Sonic Mania being such a success, as I've mentioned once or twice before, it's clear to the fans and hopefully clear to Sega now that both games cater to audiences for different reasons. Even though 2D and 3D Sonic fans may have their differences, there is a lot of overlap. Both types of games can and should coexist, but they should exist independently. How much better would the Sonic games since Unleashed be if the focus was put back on platforming and speed in 3D? No, I'm sorry, but this still doesn't explain the full story. Because as I said before, there is no problem with 3D Sonic. This is a fundamental problem that exists for all Sonic games. The only reason Sonic Mania was any good was precisely because it was driven by independent programmers, whose passion and imagination let them create something totally original. And before you say, well Joe, what about all the redesigned levels from the old games? Takashi Iizuka admitted that this was his idea. But either way, look at what the dev team was able to do with that requirement. Those levels, although the look and feel was familiar, allowed for brand new experiences that we've never had. Imagine what that game could have been with 12 original levels instead of only 4. Still don't believe me that 2D Sonic can do no wrong? I have 2 words for you. Sonic 4. Episode 1 and 2. Okay, that was a few words, but you get the idea. Maybe 2D Sonic doesn't suck as bad because Sonic Team hasn't made a full 2D main story game since the Genesis Mega Drive era. I'll give Sonic 4 a pass since those games weren't technically developed by Sega either, but take a moment to think about the same group of developers that gave us Sonic Forces trying to create a brand new 2D game from scratch. And by from scratch, I mean with Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant Zone, Sky Sanctuary Zone, and all the other typical bullshit levels. As someone who works in technology, I've seen firsthand the fatigue that developers experience when they have to work on the same product for years and years. It's soul-crushing. And these engineers who are humans just like you and I become jaded. It becomes just like any other day job and their passions go to crap. And often so goes the quality of their work. With most technology companies, developers are switched between projects within a product or even sometimes to different teams entirely. This lets them bring a new perspective to something that already exists or to create something brand new from the ground up. It also allows them to keep learning, and most importantly, keeps them happy and energized. In summary, happy people equals productive people equals quality products. So for someone like Takashi Iizuka, who's been with Sonic Team for over 20 years, it might be time to change out the old guard. Yuji Naka left Sega for this reason, because he sought out new adventures outside of Sonic Team. Now I've watched videos, and one fellow YouTuber, Premi Duremi, has gone into this in detail, that the only way to save Sonic is to dissolve Sonic Team. Even if Sonic Team didn't get dissolved, it would be important to rotate in some fresh developers who can learn from the experienced dudes while also bringing in new ideas. So how can Sonic be great again? Most people would say by creating a sequel to the early successes of Sonic Heroes or Sonic Adventure. But can you fix the problem by creating another game that follows the same failed template as what's been tried with games like Lost World and Forces and just naming it differently? Of course not. The problem is a bit more complicated than just creating a sequel, but it also can be a simple fix. Look towards what made each of those games special. Sure, the introduction of new characters such as Silver, Classic Sonic, or a custom character can be fun at first, and some of those characters may even become staples in the series, just like Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow have become. But as was done with the early games, Sega and Sonic Team need to look at the entire picture, knowing which experiments have been successful and which have failed. Just as they did with the Adventure series and Heroes, they should build upon those foundations while also taking calculated risks for new and exciting challenges for today's generation of gamers. Put some excitement into new destinations, with fresh level design that has never been seen before. Encourage the player to explore while keeping them yearning for more so that they must play the game over and over to be rewarded with new discoveries or different paths. Align the characters' unique abilities with their levels and gameplay style. Create side quests that give you a break from the main story while still being a challenge, even if it means an RPG-style grind like Raising Chao. And create a storyline with passion that grasps the player until they can't put the controller down. Look, it's no secret that Sonic has had ups and many downs over the last 20 years since his first 3D title. But you can't look at this from the angle that Sonic has never worked in 3D. As entitled as you are to your opinion, that's simply not true. Time and time again, games in this period have been wildly successful, and have introduced us to new characters that have become staples in the series, new game modes, and even the new engine to support Boost. Let me know what your thoughts on this topic are. Obviously, there's a lot of people with different opinions, and I'd love to hear them all. So leave yours in the comments section down below, and let's keep the discussion going. If you liked what you heard today, please take a minute to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more content, and be sure to click that bell to turn on all notifications. Until next time, stay true and stay blue, Sonic fans.